What happened when my son finally made me a grandfather? After my son Danny got married, I started quietly waiting for the day he'd make me a grandfather. I never brought it up. I didn't want to nudge him about it, but I had one small private hope. I wanted a granddaughter. I'd only ever had sons, 3 boys actually, and I loved them with everything I had. But I used to wonder what it would have been like to have a little girl in the house, the one thing my noisy, wrestling in the living room family never had. I joke with Danny sometimes, when you two have a baby, put in a request for a girl, would you? He'd laugh and say, Dad, it doesn't work like that. I even started sneaking a few things home. A soft rag doll from a craft fair, a picture book about a father and daughter I'd read 100 times to Danny when he was small, a little yellow hair clip I saw in a shop window and couldn't resist. I kept it all in a shoebox on the top shelf of my closet, where nobody would ask questions. Then one Sunday, Danny called. Dad, can you come by after dinner? We've got something to give you. I got suspicious right away. When I got there, Danny and his wife Priya were on the couch, both grinning like they were about to burst. Priya handed me a small wrapped box. Why are you two smiling like that? I asked. Danny just said, open it, Dad. Inside was a tiny pair of baby socks, pale yellow. Tucked between them was a folded card. I opened it and read, can't wait to meet you, Grandpa. Love, your granddaughter. I forgot how to breathe for a second. I looked up at Danny. Are you serious? He nodded, and I just started crying. Right there in the doorway, this big grown man holding a pair of socks the size of my thumb. Then I said it out loud, kind of shouted it, honestly. A girl. Priya started laughing and crying at the same time. I pulled Danny into a hug so hard he grunted. Then I hugged Priya, gently, remembering there were 2 of them in there now. I couldn't stop looking at the socks. I'm going to have a granddaughter. She's our daughter, Dad, Danny said, laughing. I know, I said, but I'm still going to spoil her rotten. That's exactly what we're afraid of, Priya said. Then she handed me the ultrasound picture. I looked at that little gray shape on the paper, and it all landed at once. There was a whole person on the way, a little girl, growing right there. I touched the edge of the picture and whispered, hi there, Grandpa's been waiting a long time for you. Danny sat down next to me, and after a minute said something I wasn't expecting. Dad, I always kind of knew you wished you'd had a daughter. I hope you don't feel like you missed out having us. That undid me all over again. I put my arm around him. Listen to me, I said. I used to wonder about it, sure. And then I had you and your brothers, and every single day of it was more than I ever knew to want. I didn't miss a thing. I got you 3. I looked at the ultrasound again. And now I'm getting a granddaughter on top of it. I'm just about the luckiest man alive. A few months later, Priya had the baby. When they finally let me hold her, this tiny bundle with a full head of dark hair, I couldn't stop the tears. She was so small she fit in the crook of one arm. She wrapped her whole hand around my finger, gripped it tight like she decided I belonged to her, and fell asleep against my chest. I stood there in the hospital room, swaying a little the way you do without thinking, and I said quietly to Danny, you know that shoebox in my closet? He raised an eyebrow. It's been up there almost a year, I admitted. Ragdoll, hair clip, that book I used to read you. Danny laughed, but his eyes were wet too. You had it ready the whole time. I had it ready the whole time, I said, looking down at her. She sighed in her sleep, this tiny sound, and I decided right then that I'd read her that book so many times she'd have it memorized before she could talk. Turns out, you can wait your whole life for one particular thing and get it right at the end, when you've already been given everything else. I'd made my peace with a house full of boys years ago. She was just the part I didn't know to hope was still coming.